Hello, I am Nicole Peacock, and I am here just to share this journey of experimenting and trying new things and trying to just keep creating, even though I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. I've been painting for a few years, but I got stuck in a rut making the same things over and over again, and I just wanted to try lots of different abstracts, textures, styles, and the way that I've figured out how to just keep chipping away at it and playing with it is by trying new things, new ways of applying the paint. And I have some papers here. It feels like today it's going to be easiest for me to just start putting some more paint on here. These layers that I've already done with plenty of texture are fun. It's by no means a planned piece. I am just trying to see what's going to happen. And I have a big bucket here of all sorts of different tools that I've got at the thrift stores and around my house. But right now, even playing with those feels like I don't know, I'm just not quite into that yet. I've set up here on the floor just to see if I can get myself in a different position other than sitting at a table, and just start going to town with some paint and seeing what happens. So I have a couple little yucky canvases here that are just for putting on leftover paint, which I will probably end up using those. I have a spray bottle here. I do have some brushes and things, but I've got a bunch of my older paints that have been almost completely used up, and sometimes it's helpful for me to use some of them when I have a piece that I just need to get the creativity flowing on. So no plan whatsoever, and to be perfectly honest, I've been dreaming about getting back to this painting and doing some video with it, and then when I get up here I get kind of stumped and I don't really know what I want to do, and then I kind of get discouraged. So I guess that's what I mean when I say that I feel like I'm just here to share the journey, because as much as I love to create and paint things, I so often get stuck. And, you know, my brain just tells me that I need to have a plan, or it needs to be like, you know, for a good reason. Otherwise, I'm just wasting time and wasting paint. I think for so many of us, that is a pretty common, you know, thought process. We try to get going, but then our brain just tells us in so many ways that we're just wasting our time. So just took a piece of paper here and put a little paint on it just to kind of get myself rolling. Got a lot of white on it, a lot more white than I actually intended to put on there. So what I think I'm going to do is, I have a few of these little pieces of cardboard that I've used in my watercolors for dabbing on paint. I think I'll just dab off of this piece of paper to get some playful marks, so I don't get too much paint on the canvas right to start with. I knew that these bright colors underneath would mostly get covered up, but I wanted some of them to show through in one way or another. And I knew this was going to be just a messy approach here. I think the important thing for me today, because I've been feeling a little discouraged about building my business, all of the tech stuff I've been trying to work on the past few weeks is just daunting for me. My brain, I'm not saying my brain isn't smart, it's just that I'd much rather just do hands-on things like this as opposed to tons and tons of hours on the computer trying to figure out stuff. And it's just taking way longer than I thought it would. Just setting up basic stuff like an email platform and basic website, all the things that I would love to do to run an art business from home and to be able to run classes, offer some really fun, playful workshops and classes. I've been dreaming about doing that for a lot of years, and I have done it back in 2020 and 2021, just Zoom classes, but I didn't set up all the tech to actually have a website and a business to be able to do that. So now I'm trying to, well, that kind of feels good. I feel like today I just need to do fun stuff that feels good and reminds me why I love this process, why I love the mess, why I want to share it with other people, and why I want to help free other people up to just get messy and play like this. Here's another good reason why I save these canvases. I like just building up layers, and sometimes these little canvases turn out super fun, or at least just a really fun background for something else in the future. This piece of paper is given up, so I think it felt really good to scrape on some of that paint. What do I have as a scraper in here? This brush has been fun. I really love using this bottle brush. I haven't had it for very long, but I think I'm gonna put a little bit of white. Actually, I think I have to put some white paint right over here. I think I'll use this little canvas as a palette for now. Again, I just threw some stuff on the floor here because I didn't even really know. Ooh, I like that on here. I didn't even really know what I was going to come up with. Acrylic paint, of course, dries pretty fast, but not super fast. So if I get too much going on here, I might have to switch out to another painting for a few minutes just to let this set up a little more. But really liking the scratchy application of paint with this bottle brush. Just can't really control it real well. And I kind of already had these wavy lines going on here. I just decided I would just show up here, record a lot of the processes I do to try to keep myself painting and find that relaxation that always comes when I get over that hump of just getting started on something. And once I get the flow going, then it starts really feeling more fun and relaxing. And I catch any little voices in my head that say, oh, you should be doing something else. This is a better use of your time. Or, oh, what a mess you're making. What is the point? It is absolutely, the whole point is to be making the mess, exploring, and finding out what is interesting and fun. And that's transformed a whole lot already. I was going to add a little bit of water onto this thing, but now I like how that bottle brush has done some splatters. There is a lot of texture in this piece that you really can't see on camera up close. There's a lot going on, and the more layers of paint I add, the more interesting that texture becomes. And at some point, I'm going to pull out that texture some more. Some of this may get sanded back. That's kind of a big white blob up there, but that's okay. Everything's okay, honestly. No matter what it looks like, it's okay. But I kind of feel like I want to let that white dry. And not keep scraping it around. The more I scrape it around, the more it'll blend in and create kind of that light blue color instead of having the bright white. But I definitely can make some other marks on top of it. Let's see here. Got a piece of cardboard here too. However, I've got this slimy little, partially wet little piece of cardboard here. And I feel like I need to make a little bit different types of marks. If you get stuck making the same thing over and over, just kind of stop and think, what would be different? A different tool, a different color is kind of obvious, but mark making, I had all this horizontal stuff going on, so all of a sudden doing something vertical creates some definite interest. And I'm dragging those lines a little bit just to make them more interesting. But I also want to leave some of them very sharp. As far as where I make the marks and how I make them, I just sort of, I try not to think about it too much. And now I'm going to paint with a chunk of paper again. Just kind of dragging that really lightly, and so it's picking up some of the lines of texture. And there's no mistakes in this because I don't have a plan and it doesn't have to look any certain way. The other thing is it doesn't have to you know, meet any standards or be like anybody else's or accomplish a certain thing, other than just taking me into another realm for a while where I can just watch what happens, see what unfolds. More and more layers create more and more interest. I'm just trying to highlight some of that texture in there. And sometimes when you sand something back when it's really dry too, it can be so fascinating because you just have no idea what's going to come out of it. I think these are got to go up. And now some of my lines are getting to be kind of wavy lines, and I kind of like that too. They're more random. What else? I'm not sure what else, but something dark. So this is Prussian blue, which is a really, really dark purpley blue that is almost empty, and I would love to throw these away. And of course I never like to throw paints away until they're completely gone. Completely dried up and gone. Is this still wet? Okay, there's not much left in here, but oh, that gives me an idea. Still using this old messy piece of well, don't love that, but that's okay. pretty dirty floor actually in my gallery here, or I mean in my studio, my gallery. So I'm picking up a few little dog hairs now and then out of my keep trying different ways, but my white is still pretty wet, and so instead of brushing that round and blending them all together, I'm gonna just make a few more marks and then it will be time to let this dry so that some of these marks can just set up. That dark will be really interesting coming through another top layer. I tend to have a lot of different colors in my layers, and then I like to figure out how to bring it all together later on down the road. Let's see, what would be one more tool? That I could try. How about a stick? Just want to really, there's those pieces of texture that are really thick, and the stick actually kind of picks them up really well because I can hold it flat and scrape across the top. Now I really like that. So as long as I keep changing out my tools, I keep having new interest in doing a little more and doing a little more. So I am down to the bottom of this, which is awesome because that means I can retire this bottle and start on a new one. I don't feel like I wasted any paint, but I'm using the last little bit of it right out of the bottle. Who says you can't paint with the paint tube itself, right? It's actually doing a really good job of picking up some of that texture as well. Okay, well that just gave me a new idea. I don't have to use the paint tube, but I can definitely follow this idea with a flat spatula over the top of the texture marks I made earlier. Very interesting. I know I have some more of that color. In the old paint, you get little pieces of dry paint, of course, which for me is not a problem. I scrape them out later. I think before I call this layer good, I just feel like I want to put a little bit more of that dark kind of down in this corner. I don't think there's any left in here. Let's see if I get one more blob out. No. Oh, look at that. There's always more left in there, right? Than you can usually get out. So now I am feeling much more lighthearted and more playful, and I feel like I want to go play on one of my other canvases. And so this is what typically happens when I finally get going on something. I get past all of those kind of limiting thoughts, all of that procrastination and just kind of stuckness, and I don't even have to create anything fabulous and amazing to feel better. I feel so much better right now. It's far from done and I have no idea what's next, but it's kind of interesting, and I love the bright colors peeking through. I loved playing with the stick and scraping across the texture. And I have another painting that's got a couple layers and quite a bit of texture on it that I think I will play with next. So yeah, that's what it takes to get over that hump and just get started. So this will be part 2 of this series, and I'll do another part 3 when I get back to this painting again here and maybe in the next few days. So if you stuck with me all the way through this video, thank you so much. And hopefully, just as I share this journey of mark making and overcoming those blocks to find the fun again in the creative process, hopefully it's helpful to you too. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time.